Welcome to the Explainer. So, today we're strapping in for a century-long roller coaster ride through the history of artificial intelligence. I'm absolutely thrilled to dive into this with you because, honestly, understanding how we got here is the ultimate key to wrapping our heads around where we are right now and, more importantly, where we're heading next.
Now, you might be thinking AI is this brand new phenomenon, right? Like it just popped up overnight with these flashy virtual assistants and text generators. But how long have we actually been chasing this dream? Well, if you thought it all started in the 2000s or even the 1990s, you are in for a tremendous surprise today. Okay, before we time travel, let's nail down exactly what we're talking about here. Basically, artificial intelligence is a specialty within computer science focused on creating systems that can actually replicate human intelligence and problem-solving abilities. So, unlike your everyday computer program that constantly needs a human to fix bugs, true AI works differently. It takes in massive amounts of data, processes it, and actually learns from its past to improve itself for the future. It's pretty wild when you think about it.
All right, let's take a quick look at our roadmap for today. We're going to break down this massive history into 5 distinct eras. First, dreams of artificial minds, then the birth of AI, followed by the boom and winter, AI enters daily life, and finally, the era of modern AI. So let's jump right into part 1, dreams of artificial minds, laying the pre-1950s groundwork. What's truly fascinating here is how this groundwork stretches back literally thousands of years. The ancient Greeks actually built these things called automatons, which translates to acting of one's own will. I mean, a friend of the philosopher Plato built a mechanical pigeon all the way back in 400 BCE. No way, right? And then, jumping ahead to 1495, Leonardo da Vinci created his own famous mechanical automaton. So that deep human desire to create an independent machine, it's truly ancient. Jumping forward into the 20th century, the really crucial point here is that science fiction totally laid the foundation for science fact. Back in 1921, a Czech playwright named Karla Čap released this sci-fi play called Rossum's Universal Robots. And this is huge because it introduced the mainstream concept of artificial people and actually gave us the very first use of the word robot. It sparked an absolute intellectual firestorm. It got scientists to seriously stop and ask, wait, is it actually possible to create an artificial brain?
That brings us to part 2, the birth of AI, covering the 1950s to the 1970s.
This is where we see the true birth of the technology. In 1950, Alan Turing proposes a way to measure machine intelligence. You've probably heard of it, the famous Turing Test. Then just 2 years later, in 1952, computer scientist Arthur Samuel develops a program to play checkers. And get this, it was the very first program to ever learn a game completely independently. Fast forward to 1955 at this legendary workshop at Dartmouth, and this specific term artificial intelligence is officially coined and popularized by John McCarthy. This era brilliantly illustrates a period of just pure creation. Look at these massive milestones, all happening in roughly a single decade. Right after that Dartmouth workshop, John McCarthy created Lisp in 1958. It was the first programming language for AI research, and crazy enough, it's actually still in use today. Then in '59, Arthur Samuel officially coined the term machine learning. But honestly, my favorite has to be 1966, when Joseph Weizenbaum created ELIZA. Long before smartphones, we had the world's very first chatbot acting as a mock psychotherapist, using early natural language processing. Just incredible. Moving right along to part 3, the boom and winter, spanning the 1980s to 1993. Notice how quickly massive commercial success gave way to sheer panic here. In 1980, the first commercial expert system, which was designed to assist in ordering computer components, hit the market and sparked an absolute boom. But the good times didn't last. By 1984, the Association for the Advancement of Artificial Intelligence was explicitly warning everyone of an incoming AI winter. And they hit the nail on the head. Just 3 years later, in 1987, cheaper alternatives flooded the market, and that entire specialized Lisp hardware market simply collapsed, taking a whole lot of companies down with it. To give you an idea of the sheer scale of the hype right before that crash, look at this staggering number, $850 million. In 1981, the Japanese government allocated that massive sum, which by the way is over $2 billion in today's money, to the 5th generation computer project. Their goal was astronomically high. They wanted to create computers that could converse and reason on a completely human level. So when massive projects like this eventually stalled out, it heavily contributed to the frozen funding of that bitter AI winter. So the absolutely crucial takeaway here is this stark contrast. On one hand, you had the soaring promises and massive government funding of the AI boom, and on the other, you had the devastating reality check of the AI winter. We're talking collapsed hardware markets, lost investor interest, and completely halted research funding. It was a pretty dark time for researchers, for sure. But as we'll see, they kept working quietly in the shadows.
And that perseverance leads us to part 4, AI enters daily life from 1993 to 2011. Over this rapid stretch of time, the ice thaws, funding returns, and we really start bridging the gap between sci-fi and everyday reality. In 1997, a total shockwave hit the world when IBM's Deep Blue actually beat world chess champion Garry Kasparov. Then, by 2002, autonomous robotics rolled right into our living rooms with the very first Roomba. And flash forward to 2011, Apple's Siri launches as the first popular virtual assistant. Right around the same time, IBM's Watson was absolutely dominating human champions on the game show Jeopardy!
This compounding sequence of firsts shows a real explosion in diversity. Think about it. We go from defeating a brilliant human mind in a complex strategy game like chess straight to physical, spatial reasoning, like vacuuming your living room. By 2003, NASA is using this tech to let the Spirit and Opportunity rovers navigate the surface of Mars completely alone. No human intervention. And finally, we managed to squeeze all that incredible computing power right into everyone's pocket with virtual assistants. It's a total game changer.
Which brings us to our final act, Part 5, the era of modern AI, from 2012 to the present.
This timeline shows an accelerating, almost breathtaking trajectory. Back in 2012, Google researchers trained a neural network to recognize cats entirely from unlabeled images, which is cool. But by 2017, things get a little, well, spooky. Facebook programs 2 AI chatbots to negotiate with each other, but they autonomously decide to ditch English and just invent their own unique language. Wild, right? And by 2020, OpenAI begins beta testing GPT-3 using deep learning to create text that is almost completely indistinguishable from human writing. AI is now rapidly outperforming humans, while at the same time sparking some very serious ethical debates. In 2015, major figures like Elon Musk and Stephen Hawking signed an open letter calling to ban autonomous weapons. The very next year, the humanoid robot Sophia is created and becomes the first ever robot citizen. By 2019, Google's AlphaStar achieves Grandmaster status in the ridiculously complex video game StarCraft II, outperforming almost every human player. And by 2021, DALL-E proves AI can deeply understand our visual world, generating stunningly accurate images just from text descriptions. So look at how far we've come. We've watched ancient mechanical pigeons evolve into artificial minds capable of conversing, creating, and completely dominating our best human champions. The roller coaster has been steep, and the innovations are literally only accelerating from here. So, knowing it took over 100 years of dramatic booms, busts, and breakthroughs to get to this exact moment, what will the timeline of the next 100 years look like? It's a lot to think about. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer today. Stay curious and keep learning.